Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Friday night. Thanks for watching on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and Twitter Live. We knew last night when Alex Newhook went into the boards ankle first that we knew that it was going to be pretty serious. And unfortunately, earlier today, the Montreal Canadiens confirmed the worst, not only for Newhook, but for defenseman Kaiden Guhle as well. The press release reads, forward Alex Newhook, fractured ankle, underwent surgery on Friday at the Montreal General Hospital. The surgery was performed by Dr. Greg Berry, and he's expected to be out for 4 months. Defenseman Kaiden Guhle, partially torn abductor muscle, underwent surgery Thursday in New York City. The surgery was performed by Dr. Mark Zoland, and Guhle is expected to miss 8 to 10 weeks. This is awful news for Alex Newhook. It's awful news for Kaiden Guhle. It's awful news for the Montreal Canadiens. The one player who got a bit of good news earlier today is Jared Davidson, because, of course, with Newhook being out of the lineup, the Canadiens recalled forward Jared Davidson from the Laval Rocket. 9 goals, 2 assists in 13 games. Who is he going to play with? How are the Canadiens going to be able to react to this news of course, Guhle and Newhook's long-term injury? What to do with the goalies whose confidence is clearly shaken? What to do with the lines? How to get out of this really, really tough situation? We'll discuss all of it and more with Brian Wilde. As well, we have an exclusive chat with Pascal Vincent, the head coach of the Laval Rocket and the voice of all home Laval Rocket games on the Sick Media Network, on the Sick Podcast. Cedric Blondin, our play-by-play guy, he had a chance to chat with Pascal Vincent about Jared Davidson. It's all coming up right here on your one-stop shop for Montreal Canadiens talk, your number one Habs podcast in the world. I hope. The Sick Podcast. Stay with us.
It's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your number one sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win.
up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Friday night. Thanks for watching on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and Twitter Live. Want to thank all of our sponsors. We'll start with Betway. Get a deposit matchup bonus if you go all the way with Betway, up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen right now or click on the link in the detail section to create an account, redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offer is not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. The Canadiens will host the Boston Bruins tomorrow night. Last night, of course, a 7-0 loss on home ice. It's the worst loss the Canadiens have suffered since moving to the Bell Center. It's their second worst loss on home ice in franchise history, or ever since NHL.com started, basically taking a look at all those stats. They had a couple of 7-0 losses, 3 of them. One of them dating back to 1935, but there was another one versus, so it was one versus the Rangers, one versus the Flyers, one last night versus Dallas, and an 8-0 loss to the Boston Bruins, I think at some point in the early 70s. But that one was really, really tough to watch last night. It was tough to watch the game before that, a 5-1 loss. It's even tougher, though, when we all got word of what's going on with Alex Newhook and Kaiden Guhle. We showed the medical update before the show started. We're going to show it once again, just in case that some are watching now who weren't watching 4 or 5 minutes ago. Let's bring it up one more time. Alex Newhook, fractured ankle, underwent surgery on Friday at the Montreal General Hospital. Surgery was performed by Dr. Greg Berry. He's expected to be out 4 months. Defenseman Kaiden Guhle, partially torn adductor muscle, underwent surgery yesterday in New York City. Surgery performed by Dr. Mark Zoland, expected to miss 8 to 10 weeks. We're going to tackle one at a time here, Brian. We'll start with Alex Newhook. We saw the images yesterday, tripped up by Lyubushkin, went into the boards. You figured it was an ankle. I figured it was an ankle. It's not a question of who's right, who's wrong here. I don't think we really care that we were right. But the images didn't lie. Once we saw it, we knew it was serious. And today we got the confirmation, Brian. 4 months, that's a long time. Having said that, and I know you know a lot about this stuff, this actually could have been even worse.
Yeah, actually, for me, knowing it was serious when they didn't want to talk about it last night at all after the game, you automatically instinctively know that the reason they're not talking about it is it's serious. When you learn that it's a fracture, you know that they actually knew very quickly. Fractures are very easy to see on x-ray. They probably had that x-ray within a half an hour. They just, to honor Alex himself and let the procedure complete in terms of surgery, didn't share with us. That's their right to not share with us until they have an absolutely clear and certain picture. Now, as far as the overall injury, Tony, they got lucky. I know that sounds crazy, but they got lucky. And here's why. Because of the longevity of Alex Newhook will not be affected by a fracture. The thing with a fracture is it is operated on, it reconnects, the bone heals, and you're the same player. If it were a knee and it were ligament, like Kirby Doc, there's a chance you're not the same player. If it's ligament tears in the ankle, there's a really good chance you're not the same player. These are very serious injuries that affect how you skate from there forward. In this case, bizarrely, for the 4 months that he's gone, it's going to be very painful for the Canadiens. They're a thin roster. They don't have a lot of help. But overall, It's actually for Alex good news, because this will not impact his career when he returns to the lineup. The fracture will heal. He'll be the same player, the same skater who relies on his speed.
12 points in 17 games thus far this season for Alex Newhook, who had a really, really good start to the season on a line with Oliver Kapanen and Ivan Demidov. And it's important that we talk about the lines, because the lines are going to change up here. There's no doubt about it. Now, speaking of Demidov and speaking of Kapanen, today's practice at Complex Sportif CN in Brossard actually ended up being an optional practice. This is what happened. Brendan Gallagher and Jake Evans made their way on the ice at 10 a.m. for what was supposed to be an 11:30 a.m. optional practice. I think it was changed to optional earlier this morning. So Gallagher and Evans were on the ice with Adam Nicholas, and they were trying to, they had two nets real close to each other. And I guess they were trying to, get saucer passes one to the other, and then just try and either redirect them in or bat them in or shoot them into the net or whatever it was. I wasn't there. I'm going by what I was reading, obviously. When the optional practice started, Kapanen was on the ice, Demidov was on the ice, Lane Hudson, of course, was on the ice, and Zachary Bolduc was on the ice. The rest of the players were in the gym. I would imagine some players had therapy days. Marty St. Louis mentioned earlier today that he did not have a chance to talk to Alex Newhook today. And I think we know why he didn't have a chance to talk to Alex Newhook today, because Alex Newhook was in surgery today. All right. So as for Kaiden Guhle, he's been out of the lineup for quite some time. He was spotted on the ice in the last couple of weeks. And once he was spotted on the ice, I think a lot of people said this is good news. This means that Kaiden Guhle is going to be coming back sometime soon. But then we weren't seeing him as often, and then he was solitary, and then he wasn't there anymore. And what's going on? I guess it's safe to say that the Canadiens tried, as part of Guhle's rehabilitation, tried to get him back without surgery. Probably saw that he didn't progress as they tried to, bring the work rate probably to another level. There was either too much pain, he just wasn't physically able to do it. Another chat with the doctor again, who knows, maybe even another opinion, and they opted for surgery. Kaiden Guhle is going to be out for 8 to 10 weeks. This is two important players for the Canadiens. The Canadiens have a number one line. They haven't had, I would say that they haven't had two lines working for them for the most part this season. Alex Newhook was part of a line that, for the most part this season, was probably the second line on the Montreal Canadiens. He's out. Kaiden Guhle is part of a second pairing defense duo with Lane Hudson, and we saw that Lane Hudson has been a combined -7 in the last two games, and now he's out. Brian, I guess there's different ways that you can look at this. Thank God the Canadiens picked up some of the points that they did early on in the season, which might end up making the difference. Every team goes through injuries. The Canadiens are going to be without some important players here, Brian.
Yeah, what I want to say about the Guhle one for sure, and I want fans listening to us, and hopefully the word gets around us. I know the Canadiens are going to take a lot of heat for this. A lot of fans are going to say, well, what a waste of time that they waited all of this time, 4-6 weeks before doing the surgery. Well, I want to take the heat off the Canadiens here by telling you how this works. A doctor is not going to operate on a partially torn adductor muscle. It's just not going to happen. And you saw in the press release that we've shown twice in the brackets, it said partially torn adductor muscle. You know why they told you that? They told you that because they wanted everybody to know it wasn't a complete tear. Because what a doctor will do on this is when there's a partial tear, you wait to see if the muscle will reattach. And a lot of times it'll reattach, and then you can avoid surgery. Like, you don't want to do surgery. You don't just say, let's just do surgery.
I'm happy you said that. I have a couple of friends who are doctors, and there's a rule of thumb, right?
Yeah. Do no harm. Hippocratic oath.
Surgery is always the last resort.
Exactly.
It's the last resort for the player.
Mm-hmm.
It's the last resort for the team.
And the doctor.
And the doctor.
That's right. Because the Hippocratic oath is do no harm. And the last thing you want to do is go in with surgery. So you hope that it can reconnect. And a lot of times it does reconnect. And so time passes, and you're not going to know if it's going to reconnect, right?
Yeah.
If the muscle's going to reconnect. So you have to wait it out. And so then you up your regimen a little bit, and you up your regimen a little bit, and you hope that gap, back to the bone and the ligament, gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And if the gap can't get smaller, then you have to operate. So the Canadiens did nothing wrong here. This is by the book medicine. You have to wait on this. And when you realize that it's not reconnecting, then you have to go in. And that's exactly what they did. There are no mistakes made here, for folks. They didn't, cost Guhle and you the joy of watching him for 6 weeks. They did it extremely by the book. The doctor made all the correct decisions. You hope for the best. You don't often get the best, and you lose an extra month with this player because that's the way that it has to be. And it's bad news for the Canadiens, obviously, but it wasn't badly done by the Canadiens.
Let's get to Jared Davidson, and then once we get to Jared Davidson and we get that out of the way, then we can start talking about what the lines might look like because, of course, Davidson's going to be a part of this. So last week, I had Pascal Vincent, the head coach of the Laval Rocket, join me on Le Sick podcast du lundi au vendredi en français à 10 heures le matin, weekdays at 10 a.m. in French. Let's hear Pascal Vincent on with me last week. I'll translate right after.
Impact. Il y a certainement un impact sur la game. Ce que je te dirais, c'est que l'an passé, à la fin de l'année, lorsqu'on fait nos exit meetings, dans son cas à lui, c'est un gars qui a des bonnes lectures, qui a une bonne connaissance, une bonne vision du jeu. Mais il y a certainement un bon lancer. On veut qu'il l'utilise. Mais il fallait qu'il améliore. Pour jouer dans la Ligue nationale, il faut que tu patines. Donc, on voulait qu'il travaille sur son bas du corps tout l'été, puis il l'a fait, puis là, je vois que son patin s'est amélioré. C'est pas un mauvais patineur, mais c'est pas le plus gros bonhomme. Donc, il faut qu'il améliore son patin. Il l'a fait cet été, on voit la différence cette année. Puis il y a cette confiance-là d'un marqueur, un gars qui shoot le puck, puis la rondelle trouve des façons de battre le gardien de but. Lui, il a ça présentement. Donc, il se donne ce que je peux te dire, Tony, c'est que il y a lorsqu'il y a des conversations pour rappeler des joueurs, avec le Canadien, il fait partie des conversations. Donc, là, il a fait un step au niveau du management aussi. Donc, il se met dans une belle position. C'est à lui de continuer. Puis si c'est le cas, ben, il va se donner une chance éventuellement.
Pascal Vincent last week saying, listen, he's definitely going to have an impact, okay? He's got good vision of the game. He's got good reads of the game, so he can impact the game. One of his greatest attributes is his shot. He's got a really good shot, so when he shoots, he's capable of scoring goals, as we've seen with 9 goals and 2 assists. And he said, one of the things, though, is we had to get him ready to make the next step. You had to have better skating than he had. He's not a terrible skater, but he's not a great skater, and he's not a huge guy either. So we really had to work on his core and the bottom part of his body to make himself stronger, to be more of an explosive skater, and he's become a better skater. So he can impact the game now. He's a player who is very versatile. He can play all forward positions, up and down in your lineup, and when we have conversations with the Montreal Canadiens, I can tell you that he's moved his way up the totem pole with the management team. So he said, at that point, I'd have to tell you that the next time there's a recall, he's probably put himself in a pretty good position. Why don't we talk about that now in our tune-up segment?
The Tune-Up. Presented by Point S and GT Radio.
And, of course, for the tune-up with a player going down with an injury being Alex Newhook, the Montreal Canadiens have to recall a player up. Jared Davidson is going to be part of that tune-up. Here's a guy now he's going to give everything he has. He's wanted to play an NHL game for a long time, and here he is. And this guy is going to do everything he can. He's going to play with energy. He's going to give the body. He's going to finish his hits. He's going to be the first on the forecheck. He's going to block shots. At least I expect him, and I anticipate that he's going to put his body on the line to try and help this team because they need a spark plug right now. They need that spark plug to be part of that tune-up because the spark plug that they had, it's not igniting right now. So that's part of the tune-up. It's going to be Jared Davidson. Who is he going to play with? It's something that Brian and I are going to discuss. Speaking of Brian Wilde is brought to you by
Brian Wilde, presented by Fruiterie Dollard. Fresh foods and flavors for over 30 years.
And Fruiterie Dollard is a family-run business, a mainstay in the Lasalle community since 1995, proud to continue offering the same fresh foods and flavors they have for the past 30 years, from fresh fruits and produce delivered daily to an ever-expanding assortment of deli meats, cheeses, and sandwiches. You'll find personalized service and friendly faces that make you feel like family at Fruiterie Dollard. Brian Wilde, we can talk about the lines now. Where do you expect to see Jared Davidson?
Fourth line. I don't think they'll take a chance to think that he can make, as you had been saying, an electroshock, you and Pierre last night on the show. I don't think he's got the profile to be an electroshock player. That would be more a Jarofsky when he makes his attempt to join the National Hockey League.
Who in an interview yesterday said that right now he's preferring to play center more than wing.
Yeah, I've been noticing that he's playing center, and it's been interesting too, not to digress too much, that Michael Hage has been playing wing in Michigan. So there's been a little bit of switch there. But if Jarofsky were a centerman, preferred it, and actually could read the game well enough, I mean, obviously that'd be massive.
That definitely would be. So when you say fourth line, who's the center on this fourth line?
Would still be Jake Evans.
See, in my conversation with Pierre last night, he ruled Jake Evans' line to be a shutdown line, so kind of more like a third line.
Yeah.
So in Pierre's composition, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but my interpretation of what he was saying yesterday was the Canadiens should have two offensive lines.
Yeah.
They should have a shutdown line, which he said should be Jake Evans, Josh Anderson, and Brendan Gallagher. And then they should have a fourth line, which is a checking line, an energy line. Maybe a physical line, but a line that can bring energy, a line that could try and change the momentum of the hockey game. So he's got Evans as part of a shutdown line. And so he had Doc and Veleno on somewhat of an energy line.
With Davidson.
And probably with Davidson. Because Pierre had a second line of Oliver Kapanen, Zachary Bolduc.
That's it.
And Ivan Demidov.
I think we can all agree on that second line. I think if it's not Bolduc, I would be really surprised. They don't have enough players down the middle. Like they can't move Doc onto the second line. You can make your conjecture on that, but then who's the third line center of the team? You're one center short.
So you're keeping the first line intact, obviously.
Well, right now you've only got one line on the team, so you better make sure that they provide some goals.
Speaking of that line, in the last 5 games, the Canadiens have lost 4.
Yeah, because Nick Suzuki's hurt.
100%. And with Nick Suzuki being hurt, you know what the number one line has produced in the last 4 games that they've lost? Suzuki 1 goal, Caulfield 1 assist, Slavkovsky 1 assist.
Wow, that's worse than I thought it was.
Yeah.
In the 4 games, 5-on-5 power play, everything.
Yeah, take a look at this. In those 4 losses in the last 5 games versus Philadelphia, the New Jersey Devils, the Los Angeles Kings, and the Dallas Stars, the power play went 0 for 2 versus the Devils, 0 for 3 versus the Kings, and 0 for 3 versus Dallas. They had 2 goals for 4 versus Philadelphia. So they're 2 of 12 for 16.67% in their last 4 losses, but they're 0 for 8 on the power play in their last 3 losses.
I'm going to mention one positive, though, okay? They're not putting up the numbers right now in the last 4 games, but shockingly, they are still second in the entire National Hockey League in differential at a +8.
Okay.
Only McKinnon's line is ahead of them. I think Celebrini is right there as well. They might have moved to +9. Last night I didn't check. But what I'm saying is there's still a very strong line in terms of not allowing goals. So at that +8 differential is massive. Last night, somehow they were even. Like they were even in a 7-0 loss, which is kind of phenomenal. But with that said, Tony, if you don't, considering you're the only line that generally score, then a change needs to be made. And that change would be Demidov up and Slavkovsky down.
So now here's another big problem. Now the problems are starting to add up here. Okay.
Yeah, because it's such an early rebuild.
It is correct. 4 years into the rebuild. Let's face it. They accelerated last year. Not a lot of people expected them to be in the playoffs. The problems are adding up. Liney went down with the injury. Alex Newhook is injured. Kaiden Guhle is injured. Both goalies, their confidence is shaken. The play without the puck looks like it was exactly 1 year ago. The system needs to be fine-tuned. And like you just mentioned, Nick Suzuki is clearly hurt. Not hurt to the point where he can't play, but hurt to the point where it affects the way he plays. You mentioned last night on the Sick Podcast, live from the Bell Center, that you saw Nick Suzuki walking the other way. You turned around, you looked at him. He was limping.
Slight limp, yeah.
Slight limp. Nick Suzuki blocked that shot a couple of weeks ago from Travis Konechny with 1 second left in overtime. And he was hurt, and you saw it. He hasn't been the same since. He really hasn't. And so goes Suzuki. So goes the number one line. So goes Suzuki. So goes the power play. So goes the number one line, and so goes the power play. So goes the Canadiens. If Suzuki can't go, Canadiens are in big trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the play driver on that line. He's the play driver on the team. He's the captain. He's the heart and soul. And if he's not 100%, it just falls apart from there.
It's unbelievable, though, the way just things can change in 48 hours for a hockey team, though. And 48 to 72 hours, like
major
3
injuries.
days ago, the Canadiens were the talk of the city and the talk of the National Hockey League. 3 days later, a lot of people seem to think the Montreal Canadiens are in trouble.
Tony, remember, I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was in the last week at some point that I was speaking with you. And I said, when you looked at the analytics of the team, there were some underlying things that were be hidden.
You did say that.
By an unbelievably good shooting percentage that generally over the long period of time has a reversion to the mean. You know, like there is an average out. You don't stay at a high number for very long on your shooting percentage. You tend to come off it. And when you come off it, you find the puck's just not going in the net, like the first period of last night's game. They outshot Dallas 14-5. Were not rewarded for it at all. And then it kind of snowballed in a confidence point of view from there. And, you know, why would they be so fragile from a confidence point of view? Well, they're the youngest team in the league.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you're the youngest team in the league. You're not so established that you understand how to stay in a game as well as some of the other teams that have that experience.
Isn't it something that a couple of days ago we were talking about how bad things were in Edmonton because the Oilers lost 9-1 on home ice. A couple nights later, the Kings lost 5-1 and 7-0 on home ice.
It's a long
so what
season.
happened to Edmonton is happening to Montreal. It is. It's a long season. There's 82 games. There's some hiccups, but those are big losses. Like last night's loss was not just another loss. And by the way, the game probably wasn't indicative of 7-0.
I was just going to say that, Tony. Like, I haven't heard anybody mentioning this. I've heard a lot of comparisons to last year when they fell apart. But last year when they fell apart, their goaltenders were actually above in goals saved above expected. And in this case, they're far below, right? So you have the goalies right now that are completely falling apart and making it difficult for the team to succeed.
Dobish had a bad night last night.
When they were losing by 7 and 8, like to Seattle and Pittsburgh last year at about this time, the goalies were actually outstanding.
Yeah.
They were actually they were like putting in games that were that the number was better than goals saved. Like Sam is putting in minus 2.5s. Last night, like there was -2 for Dobish. So I mean, the goaltending is really letting them down. And if you look at the shot totals against, they're in the neighborhood sometimes of 20, 22, 24. When they were being hammered, losing 8-1 and 9-2 last year at this time, they were allowing 40 shots. 13 to 15 high scoring, high danger chances. Those numbers are way down. So the defensive profile, while it feels the same because the goals are the same, the defensive profile is actually better than last year. It's the goaltenders that are a lot worse than last year.
I want to talk to you about a couple of goals that the Dallas Stars scored yesterday. But before I do, I want to talk to you about a great contest that we have going on right now, which is going to end on Sunday. Okay. Everyone saw the weather conditions earlier today, and it's coming down now, and it'll come down also this weekend. You need your winter tires on, folks, and you're going to need to put them on before December 1st. Well, if you have winter tires, or if you don't have winter tires, you really want to listen to this. Point S and GT Radial are offering you the chance to win a new set of GT Radial winter tires plus free installation at a Point S garage, a total value of $1,000. In order to participate, go to the Sick Podcast Instagram page and like and comment on the pinned post. Follow the Sick Podcast and Point S on Instagram. The contest ends on November 16. Point S, your trusted garage for vehicle care. Isn't that pretty amazing? The Sick Podcast is also brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading asset-light 3PL that's driven to be different. From cross-border freight between Canada, USA, and Mexico to coast-to-coast shipping in both Canada and the United States, Energy moves it all. They're fast, reliable, powered by tech that delivers smarter logistics. If you need a real partner in transportation, contact the team at sick@shipenergy.com and see how Energy Transportation Group is changing the freight game. All right, okay. The goal by Lindell, the second one. They gave him time and space from the slot. I get it. We're not talking about Raymond Bourque or Al McInnes, all right? I think Dobish has to stop that one. The second goal from Jason Robertson, we are talking about a very, very good goal scorer, but I think Dobish has to stop that too. And you know what? I'm never going to put a breakaway goal on a goalie. But when Seguin scored that goal, and Lord knows that there was some wrong decision-making on the ice because Lane Hudson decides to go for it, and he does good because they're down by a score of 2-0. Joe Veleno goes down deep. Juraj Slafkovsky should recognize that there's a guy behind him. He should recognize that since Lane Hudson is going, he's got a cover for him. He doesn't take the information. He decides to go to the bench. As Pierre Maguire put it, that shows him that the communication from the bench is not where it should be either, not only from the coaching staff, but even from the players who should say, you got to get that guy, right? You know, and he doesn't, and he leaves Seguin. But Dobish looks small in his net on that goal, right? I'm not going to pin a goal on a breakaway on a goalie, but he didn't look like he was a guy that was 6'4" 2 weeks ago that used to cover the whole net. He looked like a guy who was like 5'10" yesterday who left a lot of net. Clearly, he's struggling, Brian. You know, one of the themes on our social media last night and also on our chat, there was a lot of frustration from the fan base last night, a lot of very angry fans. And Marty St. Louis usually has public opinion, 99.9% of the time. Last night, our chat was upset. They were upset because they think that when St. Louis went to Montembeault versus the Ottawa Senators about 10, what was it, a couple of weeks ago or whatever, he should have kept on going with Dobish because he was hot. And by not going with him, Dobish cooled off. And now he's cold. I understand it. Mark Dumont was all over Twitter with that yesterday, by the way. Very passionate himself. I understand the reasoning. And I've said here for the last couple of weeks, I would go with the winning goalie. All right? And Dobish didn't win last night, and I'm going with Montembeault tomorrow night. But do you buy that?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind when I hear that, I got two responses on that. Number one is that if Dobish can't handle not being played for a turn when maybe he could have got that turn, that's a lot of fragility. I don't want to think that my goalie is that fragile.
Yeah.
If you learn your goalie is that fragile, it's a bad thing.
That's fair.
And second, in terms of like, would he be one to suffer in that manner? That if he doesn't see the net every 2 nights, he's going to fall apart? No. I mean, he played college hockey at Ohio State. Like, I mean, he played once a week all the time. I mean, that's what that's all he's known. And in fact, a fan or me or Martin St. Louis could make the opposite argument that if I played him too much, that would be out of character for him, that he didn't ordinarily play that much when he had a 40-game college season instead of an 82-game season. So I think you could even argue the contrary on that point if you wanted to debate it. I'm more worried about the fragility, though. Because when you talk overall, Tony, about his game last night, here's how I assessed it. Maybe not as clearly as negatively as you, but on the first and second goals, they're nice shots from 15, 20 feet. But he's back in his net. Like, he's deep in his net. Yeah. You know, anybody knows in goaltending, it's very hard for us as critics who tend to be a little bit more intelligent about what a defenseman's supposed to do and what a forward's supposed to do. Yeah. Because I think for most of us, including myself, goaltending seems a little bit like voodoo, and I find it hard to break down. But one of the things I do know is a goalie very deep in his net on his goal line is going to show a lot more net to a shooter than a guy who's at the top of his crease and even beyond for 15-foot shots. And he was deep in his net on goal 1 and on goal 2. On goal 3, breakaway's a breakaway. Yeah, it's hard to know exactly what's going on there. I thought that he came out to meet the shot, but didn't move on it. So that speaks to a little bit of anxiety when you don't actually move on a shot. Robertson's fourth one, I thought that was just world class hockey right there, to be honest. To come across a crease like that and find the top part of the net on a back end is just damn good hockey, and that's why he got 100 points in his career. And the fifth one's a long shot, and that's been Montembeault's difficulty this year, not seeing long, clean shots, and he should have stopped that one for sure.
I don't know if you had a chance to hear Pierre McGuire in his entirety, because of course we spent.
I
about
did
10 minutes
on the
together,
way
but
home. I kept it up on the Metro and everything, and I listened to the whole show.
Pierre's not buying what Dobish is selling. That was just Dobish's reaction to a loss 1 month into a season.
He's worried he's
versus
fragile.
he's just not. He didn't necessarily say that, but he's wondering if something happened before that to bring him to that point, to bring him to those emotions. He's wondering if there was something, I don't know.
Interior? Like
I don't know.
Inside the locker room or something?
I don't know. You know, Stefan Waite mentioned something on 98.5 FM, which I'm a collaborator on every Monday night and every Friday night on Mary Longwell's show, Les Amateurs de Sport, and it's a great radio show. He said that when Dobish played versus Seattle, I don't know if you can remember this. I'm sure you can. You got a good memory. The Canadiens are up 3-0 period number 3. And then Jaden Struble picks up that penalty.
Right.
And then I think it's Brandon Montour scores his first of the game, first of 2, makes it 3-1. Mm-hmm. Shane Wright scores the goal to make it 3-2. Mm-hmm. That's one that Dobish would have liked to have had back.
Yes.
But Dobish lifted his arms and looked at his teammates, basically saying, I'm screened here. What are you guys doing in front of me, type of thing. Stefan Waite, who's Carey Price's, he used to be the goalie coach for the Canadiens when Carey Price was there, and was the goalie coach for the Chicago Blackhawks when they won their 3 Stanley Cups. Stefan Waite didn't like that. He didn't like the body language, and he said, you don't do that. And he said, I'm sure that they told him, don't do that, whether it's the players or whether it's the coaching staff. And is it possible that that had an effect and that carried over? And then he probably thought versus Jersey, I owe them one because maybe I shouldn't have done that. And who knows? I'm speculating here, but I just thought we can add, to bring some context to the discussion.
Well, I think the point is a great one. I don't know how much the players are going to hold it against him in the long run unless he continued to do that throughout the course of his career. Then that would be unacceptable. But for a rookie to do it and make it the first time that he did it, I'm sure somebody would take him aside and say, hey, don't call us out like that, eh? That's just not what we do in hockey. And that's not what we do with the Montreal Canadiens. And I don't know if he would have taken that, that personally or dramatically or with a high level of emotion. I would hope that wouldn't be a giant thing. You would just hope that he wouldn't do it again. My take on that Seattle game was that they were up 3-0, and then there was a 4-on-4 with 4 minutes left, and they were playing fire wagon hockey. Like, you're up 3-1. You don't want to play fire wagon hockey. You want to play boring hockey. You don't want to exchange chances. You're the leader of the team already. Just put the game away. Yeah. So, I mean, you could see there that they didn't have an understanding yet of how to make games boring when you have the lead, which hasn't been the difficulty the last 2 games. But, like the difficulty, it's a hard moment right now to criticize Dobish because he's only had like that one horrible game. Like the New Jersey game, he can take, you can cry about it and feel really upset about it, but he wasn't a terrible goalie on that. Like on the 3-3 goal, I mean, I'm sure he would love to have, reached for that puck with a blocker or a glove and ended the action there. But that's not
Meyer put in when it was a 6-on-4 because they had pulled their goalie and Mike Matheson would have to be on the ice
too. So I mean, it's a hard moment, and they tied it up. It's 3-3. You left with a point after a breakaway, which was Newhook's fault, I think, on the turnover.
Yes, he gave it up to Jesper Brett.
So like it wasn't even his fault on a breakaway. I mean, a breakaway is a breakaway. If you stop it, that's great. But I mean, nobody holds it against you, generally speaking. So, that emotion was high. And I think that emotion was, and everybody tried to kind of slough it off as nothing. But I think that emotion was sort of a precursor for what happened last night. Now, as far as the fans wishing for him to not lose the heat and the fact that he was playing great, like when it's all said and done, I'm sorry. I mean, Dobish is going to be an .890 goalie in this league. When he's finished, I bet you that's his number. Like hold Brian Wilde to it in 2032.
His last 4 starts, 6:15 last night, 8:57, 8:57. He's
going to be an .890 goalie. And Montembeau's going to be an .895 goalie when it's all said and done. So do they have the answers in net right now? No. No. .890 and .895 does not win you a cup.
Hold on a second here.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you telling me if you're Kent Hughes, you're on the market for a goalie?
Well, or I'm waiting for Jacob Fowler.
You'd have to wait a while.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but I would probably.
When I say a while, you're going to have to wait at least a year.
If I were on the market for a goalie, what do you think it would cost me? It's next to nothing. Go get Jake Allen. He's worth a second and a third. It's not expensive. Goalies are not expensive. And you don't even know which ones are going to be good at any given time.
I hear you.
Like, look at Casey DeSmith yesterday.
Devils are not giving up on Jake Allen.
No, but you have no clue. Like, look at the guy who got the shutout yesterday. Before the game, he was spitting 8.96. Right?
He was really good last night.
And he was really good. So he's probably
versus his
up.
former team where he had a cup of coffee. It almost seemed like he had something to
So
prove.
right now he's probably 900 this morning if we looked. You know, that's a pretty good number, 900. So these days, like 900 used to be a terrible number, but since reverse VH, I don't know. They only seem to be poorer than they used to be. I'm not sure if this new strategy is all that's cracked it up to be in the goaltending world.
All right, okay. Want to talk to you about an upcoming charity event. There's actually various events that I want to talk to you about. One is the Barks and Bubbly, a cocktail-style evening on November 21st at the Atwater Club from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., raising funds, Brian, to help dogs rescued from shelters and given a second chance at life. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Anyone who has an event like that for a cause like that is a pretty good person. I'm talking to you about my good friend, Elena Kratsios, who's one of the important people behind this great cause and this great charity event. Guests can expect amazing music and delicious food, open bar all night, fun interactive stations, including custom dog portraits, engraved merch, and friendship bracelets. Tickets are $100. Tax receipts are available. To buy your tickets, go to the Instagram page of Accent My Event, which is Accent Events, at Accent My Event, which you see here right now on the poster that's put up. See at the bottom where it says www.zeffy.com/en-ca. Well, that's where you can buy your tickets for the event. And if you're going to be there, there's a pretty good chance you're going to see Tony Marinaro, because I have a feeling that he's going to probably be there after he finishes his radio hit on Friday nights, which usually ends at around 8 o'clock. So Tony will be there probably at around 9 o'clock.
Tony is you, right?
Tony would be me, talking the third person. You didn't expect that, did you? We're going to be out there. We're going to be out and about, okay? So that's actually going to be next week on Friday, okay? But before that, a couple of days before that is Wednesday. And on Wednesday, guess where I'm going to be? I'm going to be at Cafe Milano. Now, Cafe Milano has several locations. They have one in Laval. They have one in DDO, and the original is on Jarry East in St. Leonard. And that's where I'm going to be on Wednesday. So the second I'm finished my Sick podcast en français à midi, I'm going to make my way over to the East End, and hopefully I can get there in about an hour's time, because I'm going to have a live show at 1 p.m. And if all goes well, joining me will be Craig Button and Pierre Lebrun.
Oh, wow.
And that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Cafe Milano and the Sick Podcast, we have teamed up, of course. They are a partner and a sponsor, and we very, very much appreciate all of their support. It's one of my go-to places to hang out for a latte, for a cortado, for some of their just the great vibe and the great ambiance. You go to any of their places, it's buzzing. It's like if you haven't seen somebody in a while and you walk into a Cafe Milano, chances are you're going to see that person there.
And I bet there'll be a lot of people that want to go and see Pierre and Craig.
Well, they're going to be at a distance.
They're not going to be there?
They're not going to be in Montreal.
Oh, too bad.
Well, they'll be able to see them on the Zoom screen. But now, also, speaking of which, going out, the Grey Cup, it's around the corner. So guess what? This Sunday, I'm going to be at the Sir Winston Churchill Pub.
You are a busy man.
I'm going to be at Sir Winston Churchill Pub this Sunday. And you can reserve your table at 514-288-3814. And with the team of the Sick Podcast here and Agnello and family, we're going to be there before the game. We're going to be there during the game. We're going to be there after the game. It's kind of like a watch party. We'll be watching the game with the fans, and we're going to talk to them. Our social media team is going to be with me, and we're going to talk to them before the game, during the game, and after the game. And hopefully we'll be able to celebrate a victory. And of course, they're at 1455, 1459 Crescent Street in downtown Montreal. Now, so
you don't have another one.
Well, tomorrow I'm going to be in Yamishish, which is close to Trois-Rivières, all day for actually the table hockey championships.
I used to be good at that.
You used to be good at table hockey?
Yeah.
Well, Carlo Bosio is, I think he's got a record of, he's played 100 games. He's lost like 3 or 4 games or whatever. They actually have table hockey leagues. You know that, right?
Cool.
So I went out once upon a time last year. I went out and I played with some of these gentlemen, and they asked me to come out, and I said, sure, why not? And I went out and I played with them. Carlo Bosio was able to lift the puck on his stick. Lift it. Okay. So you and I used to play the table hockey.
How do you do that?
He's able to lift the puck on his stick, and he's able to put it in the top corner.
How?
I'm still asking myself the same question, but believe he says hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of practice. Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, I'm going to be in Yemashish tomorrow. So
I don't even know what a yemashish is. Sounds like a Jewish dessert.
So Yemashish tomorrow, downtown Montreal on Sunday, Saint Leonard at Cafe Milano's on Wednesday, and of course downtown Montreal again for the charity event on Friday.
And in between all of those, you're going to try to get 45 minutes of sleep.
In between all of those, 8 radio hits per week, 11 podcasts, and 5 TV appearances.
That's crazy, Tony. Please take care of yourself.
Thank God for the spa. Thank God for the spa. All right, okay. What are your lines?
You know what? I was just thinking that was
Who are your lines?
Where we should go.
Who are your lines?
I think the first
Because
line.
at one point yesterday, they tried Doc, Bolduc, and Demidov.
Yeah.
Now, Pierre Maguire said, no, I want to see Kapanen, Bolduc, and Demidov. And guess what? Based on their body of work this season, I think even though I like Doc for 5 or 6 games, Kapanen has outperformed Doc.
Yeah.
And he's been better in the face-off circle.
I think the first line will stay the same because when Martin St. Louis was trying to get a spark in the last couple of days, and you did see Demidov go on the first line, there was nothing special happening there. So I don't think he's going to flip that switch just yet. So I'm going to take Slavkovsky stays on the first line. And I think Bolduc is the absolute natural to go to the second line in the absence of Newhook. And then the fourth line, I'll go fourth line first ahead of third line. The fourth line will still be Evans and Anderson, and the new player, Davidson, will be joining them. I don't think you're going to push Davidson already to the third line. I think that Pierre's idea is a good one that you mentioned earlier, but the team is too thin now to pull that off. They're just too thin. They don't have the players to do the quintessential 4-line makeup. But I'm also going to make an argument there that I think the future of hockey is Paul Maurice's model, which is stop trying to make plays third and fourth line, but put the puck in deep and F and hammer their D. I think that's the future of the game. So the future of the game is Florian.
And if you don't want to wear it down, you should probably have a big D like the Dallas Stars, who, by the way,
my God, I heard you guys go over the 6 players. The smallest was 6'3".
The smallest is 6'2", which is Miro Heiskanen, I think, and then the tallest is 6'7".
Right, and
they are huge,
and that takes us back to what we have been discussing. And no one wanted to hear this when I mentioned it when they were winning. I got a lot of pushback on it, but I bet you the pushback's a lot less now. That the Kings come in and push them around, that the Stars come in and push them around, and they can't generate any offensive in terms of goals against the Dallas Stars with one guy 6'2", and the tallest, I think, peeking out at 6'7". Big boys, man, in the blue lines of the NHL. Big boys.
Which is by the way, Bichel, who was drafted the year of the Slavkovsky draft.
Right. See, that was a hard draft to know who was going to be good.
In the first round.
Owen Power draft too.
Pierre was mentioning yesterday that Bichel was giving Josh Anderson all kinds of fits. He was going nuts because he couldn't get around him. Can you imagine going up against the guy who was 6'7"? Like, we all know how tough it was to get around Chara, who was 6'9". Not easy to go around these 6'7" guys. And you know what? Clearly the Dallas Stars, they have a template when they draft or they acquire defensemen. They like big boys and nothing but big boys. Before I get to your point here, it's just we have an exclusive interview that we promised. And I want to show you this because our play-by-play guy of all Laval Rocket home games on our digital network, of course, Cédric Blondin, is actually on the road, and he went to watch the Laval Rocket in Springfield on Wednesday, or was it on Thursday?
The morning game.
The morning game. It was anyway. And he is with the team right now because they play 2 games on the weekend also in Springfield and in Providence. And he had a chance to catch up with Pascal Vincent. It's an exclusive interview that we have for you right here on the Sick Podcast. Let's hear from Pascal Vincent and Cédric Blondin.
Je suis très fier de lui. Puis, ça, c'est le genre d'appel que tu fais. Quand je l'ai appelé hier, c'est le genre d'appel qui est très gratifiant. Il a travaillé fort l'an passé, il a travaillé fort au camp, il travaille fort durant nos matchs. Il s'est donné une chance d'être dans les conversations. Puis là, ben, finalement, il est rappelé. On est très heureux pour lui. Ça serait supposé de marcher comme ça, mais même si on met ça blanc ou noir, ça devrait marcher comme ça, mais c'est pas tout le temps le cas. Puis c'est pas la faute de personne. Des fois, c'est le type de joueur que tu as besoin, c'est la position, qui est disponible. Donc, mais dans son cas, lui, c'est très bien mérité.
Pascal Vincent says, you know what, very gratifying. It was a call that I was happy to make, a call that if he made last night. So like they knew right away, like you just said, they knew that Alex Newhook was going to be out. And he said, you know what, he fully deserves it. He's been in the conversation. He deserves it. And it's nothing against the other guys. Sometimes it's the kind of player that you need, the kind of role that you need filled on a hockey team and stuff like that. He goes, but regardless of roles and all that stuff, he says, he deserves it. He's worked really hard. He worked really hard in the off season, worked really hard in the summer, worked really hard during the season, has worked really hard in practice. Here's a guy who goes, that was a nice phone call to make.
And you know what? For the next 4 months, I assume, unless Davidson plays extremely poorly.
Yeah.
You got basically a Davidson-Veleno battle going on here. And the winner of that battle stays in the National Hockey League, and the loser of that battle might be finished in the National Hockey League. What do you think of that thought?
Joe Veleno has to start to either contribute offensively or play like Jake Evans.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't do either, he's in trouble.
And it takes me back to my footprint. It takes me back to the Maurice footprint.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be on the back half of a roster, you better be doing something, right? You better be doing something. It can't be finding yourself as a minus player, not scoring, and not throwing the body around to wear down defensemen.
If you're not scoring, you got to do other things.
You got to do something else. You got to do, like, Jake Evans is not a guy who's going to throw a body around. He's not going to give you a lot of scoring, but at least he plays good defensive hockey and kills penalties well and plays an intelligent game.
In life, you need to be lucky as well.
Right.
And sometimes in someone's misfortune, maybe you get an opportunity that you probably wouldn't have got. Who knows? Maybe in all of this, Joe Veleno ends up at center ice. Who knows? Maybe in all of this, Joe Veleno has a shift or two where he ends up in Newhook's spot on a line with Kapanen and Demidov. And then all of a sudden, he starts to produce.
That's what you got to hope for. I mean, that's what he was in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's what made him a first-round draft choice. But he's 25 now, and he's got to find who he is. And if he's a scorer, this is your last chance because you're going to move up the roster here, right? You're going to get more minutes now, so this is it. But Davidson's also going to get some minutes too. And when it's all done, one of the two guys is going to have probably solidified his NHL career, and the other guy has not. And
I'm sure you've
unless
heard
there are more injuries.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard my story. The Team 990 in year one that I was there, or year one, or year 1.5, or whatever it was, having a really hard time. Ratings weren't very good. Called me into the office. You're just not cutting it, stuff like that. You're going to have to turn it around. We'll give you a month, or else, boom, you're gone. A lot of pressure, didn't respond very well. 1 month later, I go in thinking that's it. I'm going to get fired. I'll never be in the business again. It's over. General manager who was going to fire me passed away a couple of hours before, and I got an opportunity, and they decided to keep going with me. And opportunities in life, you gotta get a little lucky, and Joe's probably gonna have to get a little lucky, but at one point he's gonna have to make his own luck.
Absolutely. You know, right? And you get a lot of chances when you're a first round draft choice, but a
lot of chances first round draft choice.
Because he's 25 now.
One team, two teams, three teams, and four teams.
That's it. And what Davidson has done so far, he's earned. You know, 5th rounder, 23, 5 years in Seattle, 3 years in Laval, 23 years of age, getting your first chance. This is because he keeps working his ass off. You know, as the clip that you played for us, Pascal Vincent talking about him. Here's a player who keeps going, keeps trying to improve his skating, which was weak. And here he is. He's finally got his chance. Let's see what he does with it.
Not that Marty St. Louis will take advice from you or I, but I'll say this. If Davidson comes in and outworks everyone, give him the candy. You want to send the message throughout your
100%.
team and stuff like that. Like, okay, I'm good with Zachary Bolduc getting an opportunity here because he got an opportunity at the beginning of the season. He made the most of it. And then when the ice time was taken away, he didn't respond very well. If you want to put him in a position now where you're going to put him on the second line, okay. But if he's not working as hard as he should be working, and Davidson is, put Davidson in that spot.
And it brings me to a question for you.
Yeah.
This roster right now, like when now you go to Laval, you come up with Beck, who's only 2 and 4. He's struggling a little bit. Dauphin is the leading scorer on the team. That might be the next call. But Jack Guy is underwhelming a little bit. but it might be a trade. What do you think the possibility that Kent Hughes goes to the trade market a little bit with more energy than he has been? Not necessarily for a second line center, which has been the target for a long time, but just a little bit more depth. They're a little bit thin right now.
I think if anything, you might see a pickup on waivers at one point. I don't think they're going out to make a move. Number one, trades don't usually happen in the month of November.
Not until after.
A lot of teams like to see where they are, given, give or take around the American Thanksgiving. Number two, they probably didn't have a plan to make a trade, right? So then this happens, and if there's one thing we know about this management team, they don't react. They do things according to plan. And their plan is probably to go out and acquire someone come January or come February. And so I can see them probably doing something on waivers. I can probably see them recalling somebody from Laval again at a later point to go out and make a move. I don't think so, but they got to turn this around.
Leads me to your next question.
Yeah.
How many games did Jared Davidson prove that he might be the guy before they go to another guy like Dauphin or Owen Beck? 12 games, 15 games? Because Newhook's gone 4 months, man. That's essentially the rest of the calendar.
I think it all depends on the way Jared Davidson plays.
Yeah.
Right? So if Jared Davidson does the job, Jared Davidson could be here for a while. If Jared Davidson doesn't do the job and someone else is doing really, really well down with the Laval Rocket, like Pierre Maguire said yesterday, he'd like to see Florian Jacquet get the call up because he believes he's more of the kind of player the Canadiens need right now.
Guess what?
Yeah.
Completely agree. Because I really become a proponent of Paul Maurice's sentence. He's got 2 cups to back up his sentence, leading by 3 goals, telling his players, we don't need more goals. Stop effing making plays. Hammer the D. Well, they need some guys that can hammer the D. They don't have many. So Jackie's the guy. And if somebody would say, well, what's he going to bring you on offense? Well, who cares? Just hammer some people. Like, look at last night. I bet the fans, Tony, were so frustrated last night that they're getting blown out at home and nobody's throwing a hit.
A lot of the fans left the building last night.
Yeah, and that's why. Because, like, when you can't be there scoring, at least be there not being soft. Be an ice-pack team, no matter whether you're winning or you're losing.
In ending, what do you expect tomorrow night versus the Bruins?
Well, Boston just finished a 7-game winning streak. They're playing pretty good hockey. I did not see that coming. I thought they'd be at the bottom of the standings. They're going to need some saves. If they get some saves, they can win the game. But if they can't get any saves, they got no hope. I mean, both their goalies are pitching .600. Like, you're not winning any games.
It's not good right now. It's definitely. I hope for Montembeault.
Montembeault's getting the start. We know that, right?
We know that. That was confirmed earlier today.
The goals he let in last night. I mean, the first one, like, pinballing over his back.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do about that?
It was very unlucky.
What are you going to do about that? That's like a microcosm of how unlucky that guy has been.
That was definitely very, very unlucky. I hope for him that he rebounds. Jared Davidson, first round, basically in the American Hockey League this season, he, along with Laurent Dauphin, tied with 9 goals.
Right.
And so 9 goals and 2 assists, 11 points for Jared Davidson in 13 games. So he gets the call up. And, I listen, I'm excited for him. Here's a guy that I thought, once again, he dropped the gloves during training camp, right? He sacrificed his body. Mm-hmm. He did whatever he had to do. Now, ultimately, a part of me actually has got 1 more goal than Dauphin because Dauphin has 8, pardon me. But Davidson, I believe, is tied for first, but not Dauphin has 8, Davidson has 9. He did well in training camp, but so did Florian Jacquet. Look, we're going to see Florian Jacquet here. He's not here right now, but I think Florian Jacquet is going to finish the season with the Canadiens. I always thought that.
I really believe that his physical footprint is required. The team is not big enough. They need to bring some physicality onto the roster. And if I'm Kent Hughes, anybody that I'm looking in the future to improve the team is a big man. They got enough small men.
What a day for the Montreal Canadiens. Once again, there was a lot of bad news. Alex Newhook out for 4 months. Fractured ankle. He had surgery at the Montreal General Hospital. Kaiden Guhle torn adductor muscle, partial tear of the adductor muscle. He had surgery yesterday in New York. He's going to be out 8 to 10 weeks. And the Canadiens, of course, have lost their last couple of hockey games. So it's not good right now. But listen, there's an opportunity to bounce back tomorrow versus the Boston Bruins. For Brian Wilde and for Alexis Lavoie-Martel and the Cavallaro family at Master Control, Brian, thanks for coming in. Very much appreciated, my man. Special thanks to all of our sponsors. Special thanks to all of you for watching and listening. It's the Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro. Big game tomorrow night. Canadiens versus the Bruins at the Bell Center. We'll talk to you again on Monday.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.